With freezing cold and an empty stomach, the little girl had no idea that this ordinary day on the streets would become the first step in a transformation that would change her life forever. Her name was Clara, though almost no one knew it. To most people, she was simply the girl at the traffic light and the beggar, the invisible one. She was only 10 years old, but her eyes carried a weight that many adults could never endure. Every morning, Clara woke up on a piece of damp cardboard under a store awning in the city center. The sounds of passing cars and the cold wind were her only company. With no blanket, she wrapped herself in old, torn clothes, trying to keep whatever warmth remained in her small body. She had lost her parents at a very young age. Her father died in a car accident. Her mother, overwhelmed by depression, passed away not long after. With no relatives willing to take her in, Clara ended up on the streets, a harsh world where innocence is ripped away and survival becomes a daily battle. Each day was the same. Clara walked barefoot along hot sidewalks, begging for coins at traffic lights. Many pretended not to see her. Others rolled up their car windows as if she were a threat. A few handed her coins, but without ever meeting her gaze. One early morning, just before sunrise, Clara approached a luxury car stopped at a red light. It was an expensive model with tinted windows. She gently tapped on the glass, shyly holding up a crushed tin can where she collected coins. Inside, a well-dressed man in a tailored suit looked at her with disdain. "Go get a job, you lazy brat," he shouted, lowering the window just enough for the insult to hit her. Clara stepped back, feeling her face burn, not from the cold, but from shame. People nearby laughed. A woman on the sidewalk shook her head as if to say, "How sad," but did nothing. That humiliation was just one more scar among so many she carried in her heart. Despite the pain, there was something in Clara that no one noticed at first glance. A sweet and powerful voice. When she was alone, sitting on the sidewalk or inside a makeshift shelter, she would sing softly to herself. Songs she remembered from her mother, old melodies full of emotion. It was her way of holding on to the last piece of love she had left inside. Sometimes other homeless people would approach just to listen. "Girl, you sing beautifully," said an old man with a white beard and kind eyes. But Clara was shy. She believed no one important would ever pay attention to a voice that came from the streets. One rainy afternoon, Clara took shelter at the entrance of an elegant restaurant. As she watched well-dressed customers coming and going, she imagined what it would feel like to sit at a table, eat a warm meal, and fill her empty stomach after days of hunger. But before she could dream too much, the security guard pushed her away. "This isn't a place for you. Go on, get out," he yelled, shoving her into the wet sidewalk. Clara fell to the ground, staining her already torn clothes. People passed by, some with pity, others indifferent. She just wanted to disappear. At that moment, a luxury car pulled up in front of the restaurant. A tall, elegant man stepped out wearing a shining watch and an arrogant gaze. It was the same man who had humiliated her at the traffic light days earlier. When he saw her lying in the mud, he smirked sarcastically. "Well, if it isn't the little traffic light singer," he mocked, drawing laughter from those nearby. "Come on, sing for us. Let's see if you're good for anything," he said, pulling out his phone to record. Afraid and embarrassed, Clara lowered her head. I can't sing," he shouted, stepping closer threateningly. With no choice, trembling, she began to sing softly, the song her mother used to sing. But as the notes came out, something changed. Her voice echoed with such pure strength that even the rain seemed to quiet down. People who had been laughing began to stop. Restaurant staff came outside to listen. Even the arrogant man lowered his phone, confused. This little girl in torn clothes had a voice that pierced the soul. As Clara continued, her voice grew stronger. She was no longer the shy, humiliated girl. For a few minutes, she became that joyful child singing with her mother in their small backyard, before tragedy pushed her onto the streets. The melody filled the air, slipping through umbrellas, rising above the sound of engines and reaching distracted hearts. People who had been rushing stopped, forming a circle around her. A respectful silence took over, the kind of silence that only happens when something real is unfolding. When she finished, the final note hung in the air like an unforgettable whisper. For a few seconds, no one moved. Then, applause erupted. Loud, sincere, emotional. Some eyes were filled with tears. The man in the suit who had mocked her minutes earlier was now speechless. His arrogance was replaced by visible discomfort. He had tried to humiliate her, but he was the one who looked small in the face of her talent. One of the restaurant's clients, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, approached her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "You have a gift, my dear, a gift the world needs to hear," he said warmly. He was a retired music producer, once known for launching successful artists. That unexpected moment lit a spark in him that had been dormant for years. "Come with me, we're going to help you," he said. Clara looked at him with suspicion. On the streets, trust wasn't something you gave easily, but there was something in his eyes, something honest she hadn't seen in a long time. Hesitantly, she reached out her hand. In the following days, Clara's life began to change little by little. The man, Mr. Augusto, took her to a shelter connected to social projects. There, she took a hot bath, slept in a real bed, and wore clean clothes for the first time in years. At first, she struggled to adapt. She was wary of everything and everyone. Life on the streets had taught her not to get attached to anything that could disappear overnight, but Mr. Augusto was patient. He visited her every day, bringing musical instruments and encouraging her to sing for him and the volunteers. With each performance, Clara opened up more, rediscovering her true self. "Clara, your voice moves people," he told her with tears in his eyes. "You were born to sing. I want to help you share it with the world." He began recording short videos of her singing at the shelter. With the help of friends and social media, the videos spread quickly. Within days, thousands of people were sharing her performances, amazed by the strength of the once invisible girl's voice. One morning, Clara was invited to perform at a charity event organized by local artists. The stage was simple, but to her, it felt like the biggest stage in the world. As the lights came on and the microphone was handed to her, her heart raced. But as soon as she heard the first chords of the song she used to sing with her mother, everything fell into place. Her voice came out strong and full of emotion. The audience was mesmerized. Some people openly wept. When she finished, the crowd gave her a standing ovation. It was the first time Clara received recognition not out of pity, but because of her talent. Among the audience were business people and producers who were immediately interested. Soon after, she was invited to perform at other events, and her story began appearing in the local media. "Street prodigy girl moves crowds," read a newspaper headline. Clara couldn't believe what was happening. It was like waking up from a nightmare and discovering that life still had beautiful surprises waiting. At one of these events, while greeting people after her performance, Clara saw someone that made her heart skip a beat. The man in the suit, the one who had laughed at her months earlier. He stood there, motionless, with the same proud look, but now mixed with regret. Security tried to move him away, but Clara raised her hand, signaling them to let him approach. He walked toward her slowly, almost nervously. I want to apologize," he said, his voice trembling. "The way I treated you was unforgivable. I was blinded by my own pride." Silence filled the room. Everyone expected a harsh response, but Clara took a deep breath. "I don't hold hatred. If I had, I wouldn't have made it this far," she said firmly, looking straight into his eyes. Those simple words carried immense weight. Her forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant freedom. In that moment, the man cried, not just tears of shame, but of gratitude, for being forgiven by the girl he once tried to humiliate. Time went by and Clara grew up. She continued studying with the help of the shelter's volunteers and Mr. Augusto. Music, which had once been a lonely refuge, became her bridge to the world. She recorded her first songs, performed in theaters and on TV shows, and her story inspired thousands of people. But Clara never forgot where she came from. Whenever she could, she returned to the same places where she had once suffered, not with resentment, but to bring help to other children living on the streets. She distributed food, clothes, and above all, hope. "I was one of you," she said into the microphone at a social event. "I know what it's like to feel cold, to feel hunger, and to be invisible. But I also know that inside each of you, there is a value no one can ever take away. Believe in that." Clara learned that true worth isn't found in money, fancy clothes, or luxury cars. It's found in the eyes that look beyond appearances, in the hand that reaches out instead of pushing away, and in the heart that forgives without losing its dignity. She didn't just become a singer. She became a symbol of resilience, proving that even the saddest stories can have bright endings when someone believes, even if it's just one person, like Mr. Augusto believed in her. This was Clara's story, a girl who was born in the silence of the streets, humiliated and made invisible, but who found within herself a voice powerful enough to transform the world around her. Stories like this remind us that behind every anonymous face, there may be hidden talent, a strong heart, and a soul capable of inspiring generations. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other emotional stories like this one. And in the comments, tell us which city you're watching this from. Your participation means a lot to us.